what's going on in the market. This week, I thought I would talk about prospecting both intraday and end of day. I've figured out the polling, and I've got about 4 poll questions for people. They're very simple yes or no answers, and please just click on the answers. I'm going to wait just a little while, see if some more people appear. I had 110 sign up, but I'll be lucky to get probably half of those. But that's all right. It's Friday afternoon. A lot of people would rather be doing other things rather than sitting here listening to me. But I polled the people in the Skype user group for the Insiders Club, and they seem to like this time. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to do it when I'm in town. I won't be doing this every week, but I'll try to do it quite often if you like to do it. That's up to you. Okay, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I've got my HGSI menu on top here. And if you are going to follow the way I do this, you're going to need my files. Now, I just have, in my warehouse and chart views, just a second. I need it. Okay. You're going to have to get my views. Now, I am always, or I shouldn't say always, but constantly making slight modifications in these, not so much in the filters, but in the way the warehouse views appear, because I'll look at them and they don't give me the information that I want. So I'm always making changes. So even if you downloaded these files in the past, I want you to go in and do an update. And the best way to do that is to open up HGSI and I assume you're using HGSI, but not everybody is. I know that, but hopefully you will be after you watch what I'm doing here. But these files are located as add-ons on the website. And the only file you'll need to download to get to have what I'm showing today is this one right here, the basic end of day and intraday filters, views, and combos. Just click on this, download the zip file. It'll open up the window. You can download it. It's just the basic files. Save that. And then you just go into your preferences menu and select install add-ons, and I'll go ahead and reinstall them because it's not going to hurt anything. And you can see how quickly that updates, and then you're going to have all of these files that I have. Now, for those of you who are in the Insider Club, you're getting updates, and all of these files are automatically updated in the Insider Club whenever you do the add-on. Yeah, there's sound. Somebody says there's no sound. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we have about 30 minutes left until the market closes, and I want to go into the designer. And I'm going to take this off of always on top just to get rid of it and get it out of the way. And I'm going to go into, well, I didn't want that chart up yet. I'm going to go into my reference groups. Now, if you don't use HGSI, you probably don't know what the reference groups are, but they're it's the database for the program. We have reference groups, we have smart groups, which I use a lot, and you'll see that coming up. We have custom groups and also user groups. Right now, what I'm concentrating on is the intraday rotation in the market. And to do that, I am selecting the industries, and then I'll go into the Tools menu, and I'm going to rebuild the indexes in the group. Now this works if you are using intraday updating. I am using Thinkorswim for my intraday quotes, and the way I have it set up is that these quotes update every 5 minutes. So it's essentially real time if you have Thinkorswim as your platform. The problem is there's been a few people that cannot put it on 5 minutes and just let it run. It crashes their program, but that's a hardware issue on your end. Because I have experimented on 4 different computers and it works fine on every one of mine. But I'm pretty meticulous about maintaining my computers too, so there's a conflict if it doesn't work for you. Anyway, I'm going to flip through to the warehouse views, and now I'm going to, since I'm doing this intraday, I'm going into this folder, intraday, and I'll just click on this first view, and I'm sorted on the raw combo. Now, if you're an HGSI user, you've heard me say this dozens, if not hundreds of times, what a raw combo is. It's just it is a combination of fields in HGSI, and you can drive anything to the top of a view. And what this one does, the combo rank, if you look right up here, it's advancers divided by decliners. And the trucking index has been at the top of the list since the market opened this morning. So it is the strongest index. There are 15 advancing issues and only 1 declining issue. So it's very strong, followed by generic pharma. I've seen a lot of pharma stocks go up today. Managed care, you can see in this column, these are the advancers, these are the decliners, these are the unchanged. If you look over here, you can see the percentage price change of the indexes for 1 day and 5 days. And then these columns over here, you'll see me talking about these quite a bit today. And the trends are based upon, the VPA trends are based upon mathematical formulas, and this fan trend right here is based upon moving averages. So what I look for are I want to see stocks that are in an uptrend essentially, and trade off of those. Anyway, let's launch the polling. Let's see if this works. Okay, I want you to answer this question. Now we're getting into the close. I'm going to do this one more time. And once again, I'm going to click on industries. I'm going to rebuild the indexes in the group. And if you close the warehouse view, it works faster, but on this computer it works fast anyway. So I doubt if we're going to see much in the way of changes. Okay, so back to the warehouse. Take the filter off, reapply the filter. Actually, we did have a change here. So the trucking index is backed down to number 10, but there's still 13 positive, but 3 negative. But the generic pharma index has taken over, as has the managed care. Now, you don't see exploration and production anywhere near the top today. I believe crude is down today, and it's had a tremendous run, so there's some profit taking going on. So this is where the strength is. Let me quickly change to the industry group here. Now I'm going to go back down to this stocks up in groups, and I'm sorted on raw combo. I want to go to scorecard intraday, which is based upon strong momentum. You can see the combo changes right up here, and Momenta Pharma goes to the top of the list. It is up 1.97 at trading at 84.62% of its daily range. Let's go down to actually, well, this is fine. I'm just looking at this stock because it's at 93.16% of its daily range. Let me point something out to you also that where I made a change for everybody. This is a scorecard intraday, which gives me the scorecard, the traditional scorecard, the earnings per share rank, the relative strength rank, the group rank. But I wanted the trending information too. So down here under stock prospecting, if you go to this scorecard intraday, notice that the trends are in here rather than the traditional scorecard. I put that in here and in here. The reason I did that, I did it for my own benefit, but for everybody's benefit too. I want to quickly be able to see which of these stocks are trending. So notice that Dicerna, I believe is how you pronounce this, it is up on all of the trends and the fan. So if I bring this up, and let me go to a different view here. I'll just go to my number 1 view. Notice that the trend is in place. Notice the pocket pivots. Notice the volume point of control trigger back here. Trades 614,000 shares based on the 50-day moving average. Not too bad. So this stock is what I call a trending stock because all of these primary moving averages are in place, which is often, as I've mentioned before, typical of a stock that is being supported by institutions. Now, this may not be a real good example. And by the way, you're not buying this based upon earnings. You're buying this stock based upon a product or what may be coming in the future, because you can see that the earnings are absolutely not very good. That's why I and people that use HGSI, we place a lot of emphasis upon what the groups are doing. And notice that the group sold off here and started moving back up, but this stock kept on going. Let's do an analysis of this stock on VPA, since quite a few of you don't use VPA. I can take a look at generic too, but look down here at the bottom. When this group was going down, notice this was selling off hard. Notice that the accumulation started down here. And I'm not going to explain each one of these right now. It tells you by clicking on them what they are. Started moving up, a little pullback, and then more accumulation. This circle here is stopping volume. That means that there is a lot of support in this stock on that day. It opened here, traded down, shot clear up here, and then came back down here. Notice that it was in strong hands through most of the day, but profit taker set in, and now I have another one of those red circles. Then it just kind of based sideways, but notice by then that the fan was in place and it was riding the 18-day moving average up here. And then it was outperforming the group, which went down. Had a little pullback. What do we have today? We have a strength seen returning after a downtrend. This wasn't much of a downtrend, but it was enough to generate a signal. This is a stock. I'm going to suggest you put it in your watch list for Monday, okay? And the reason I'm saying that is because the number of stocks that advanced in this group every one of them were advancing, I believe, and then this one had a test. So I'm going to do a quick add to group, and I'm going to choose. This is the 11th, so I'm going to go to my user group. I'm going to go to watch list. I'm going to go to May. I'm going to go to new 2018-05-11 because this data is from the 11th. Okay. Now I don't know if you could hear the click or not, but that was added to the user group. Let's just run through some of these others very quickly. I don't like that one. Downtrend. This is an uptrend. Look at this right here. Here was a huge gap down, closed near the high on multiple pocket pivot days here. Sold off yesterday, but this is almost an inside day here. Well, I would classify this as an inside day. By that I mean this candle is on the inside of this body. So these generics, it looks like several of them sold off yesterday, but there was some support here. You can also go down and look at this volume, see that there was very little selling because the volume bar is so light. So if I quickly drop down to view number 4, it tells me my volume was 31.4% below the 50-day moving average volume. I'll go back up to this one right here. So that one, now I can hit my alternate G key because it remembers the last group that I placed something in. So I'm going to put that in for Monday. I don't like this one, obviously. This is Allergen, $155 stock. It's been coming up off the bottom. There was an effort to rise yesterday, and it followed through. Still in a major downtrend, but if you're looking for a stock that is gaining some momentum, maybe you could take a look at that. I would, if I were playing this one, I'd play it with options. Probably either write some puts or do a credit spread on it, or maybe a debit spread. I wouldn't put a whole bunch of capital out there and play it. Okay, down, but notice again, the generics, a lot of these generics are showing signs of life. Here's 2 VPA flags and multiple VPA flags over here, stopping volume, but clearly in a downtrend. I just flip through charts and look at these VPA flags. Here's another example. Multiple VPA flags. Earnings are out of the way. Earnings are certainly nothing to get excited about. But if the group starts to go up, and notice the group is going up, there's a chance that these stocks will go up. But why not go with the stocks in the group that are already in an uptrend? Don't like that one. Don't like that one. Whoops. These are probably, certainly don't like this one. Let me turn off my updating, and that's a buyout there. Intraday options, I'm going to do a manual update. And then these things won't shift around on me. So that is, I'm looking at the top group, and I'm looking for Monday now. So that was the generics. Here's managed care, 12-1. Here's large pharma. So, and the biotechs, I saw a lot of biotechs, or at least the groups today when I was looking, and there are well, this is a healthcare also, managed care. There are 3 up here at the top, so there's something definitely going on here. Let's do a quick look at the managed care. I'll click on this scorecard intraday. You can see that these are all up. This one is sorting on the Manu, turn your video off. This is sorting on the intraday. I'm sorry, the intraday combo. So it's showing the strength. So let's look at Aetna. Okay, now this is another group that was going up, and it's come down and corrected a little bit, but notice how it held steady here. On Aetna, very small bodies. When you see small bodies like this compared to wide bodies like this that are giving VPA flags, that means the selling pressure is coming off this stock. There's uncertainty here. So what happened here today? It opened, traded down, and by the end of the day it closed at the top of its range. Now earnings are out of the way. It was in a nice trend here. I don't know what happened here, probably earnings, but this is one thing. I'm going to put this in my group for Monday also. I'm going to use my alternate G key. Now once again, I would probably, my sister's trying to get a hold of me, it looks like. Anyway, this closed at its high on good volume. The volume point of control turned positive. Once again, if I take a position in this, I'm going to use options. And I will not be taking any kind of a large position. Okay, Unitedhealthcare. This one has held up a lot better, but it's really done not a lot over a long time period. Here's your gap up, drifted back down. This was a bearish flag, but that was negated by the candle the next day, and now we're getting an effort to rise on here. Notice how the group has turned up. See the group line here? That means that, well, we saw that. By the way, this group line, when I go in and rebuild these indexes, that group line is built. So this group line is current as of the market close today. So this is another potential stock, alternate G. You can go back through and weed these out. You do not have to, just because you put these stocks in a group, doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily buy them. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of creating a watch list right now. Now look at this beautiful stock right here. Yeah, your arrow keys will work. I'm just using my mouse. This is a beautiful stock. It has been in a long-term trend. Look at all of these tests, low volume tests with a confirmation 3 different times, and it took off, and it is just a tight chart. This is the type of chart you really want to trade if you're a long trader. You get in there and you start playing with Amazon's, and well, I mean, Amazon's an exception, but the Googles and Facebook and everything else, you're competing with everybody else in the world that's trading them for the very short term. If you can find stocks like this that are slow and steady climbers, and especially if they have decent earnings numbers, and they're either going with the group or outperforming, this is what you want. Now, Paul is in a stock, OKTA. It's another example of a great stock. I'm going to just drift away from this for a minute. I'm going to put this in my group first, though, alternate G. Let me flip through these, Paul, and then we'll bring up OKTA, all right? Okay, now, Anthem, you can see that there's some big stocks here that money is starting to flow back into. Cigna, not doing much. Looks like it's under accumulation. Humana, a couple of candles. VPOC turned positive. There's a lot of choices here, but I would certainly stick to the ones that are trending. Here's another nice one. Sold off for a few days, but there was a test right here, this white box. Means that it didn't go down too far, volume's low, and buyers came in to support it. Didn't do anything yesterday, but it looks like it's holding. Into my group, alternate G. WellCare, a more expensive stock, been trending up though, effort to rise today. Another stock could probably play with credit spreads. I don't buy options outright generally, well, hardly ever anymore. Okay, here's one that's moved up very nicely, Triple S Management. It's showing a little bit of resistance up here because it's run so far, so fast. This one right here, it was strong, but it sold off profit taking. Right here, same thing. But a stock like this is worth putting in your watch list. And the reason is it's because it's in a fan. It had a nice move, multiple pocket pivots. The volume point of control went up. And this is not a stock you're probably going to want to buy on Monday, but it's certainly worthy of putting in because it's a beautifully trending stock. I'm going to put it in for now. I'll go over the weekend. I'll go in and I'll weed out a bunch of these stocks and pick out the ones that I really like. One more, and then I'm going to look at OKTA. Now, I don't like this one. So this is one that Paul Reicke's in. And it's a pretty perfect example of a stock that has been trending for a long time. Look at this back here, these VPA flags in conjunction with the pocket pivots. And it went up, it drifted sideways for a long time. This is what I would call building a cause in through here. It's under accumulation, and then it broke out of that, came back, had a low volume test, and then it started moving up. It's above the 3 and the 6. These are the short-term moving averages, and a stock like this has a lot less risk. Paul Reicke said he got in 417, which would be right here on this one right here. So as it just started to move out, and it's been moving up steadily since. Now you can see that this isn't a real old stock. It's relatively new. Notice the group also. It trades a really nice volume, over 2 million shares a day. So it's liquid. And what do the tight candles tell you? They tell you that there is a lot of demand for this. When they're tight and they close near the top of their daily ranges, it tells you that there is a lot of demand for this stock because buyers are stepping up and not letting it go down very far. Okay, that's a very good example. The more of these stocks you can find, these are the ones you should buy. But I don't want to say that you shouldn't buy stocks that are turning, because that's where some of the fastest gains are made. Let's take a look at Nvda today. Nvda. Now, the semiconductor group was going down, and it was just all over the place. And Nvda was up and it was down. You can see right here on this candle, it opened here. I'm going to move in on this, zoom in on this. And buyers came in and supported it. Never did test that low again. Came over here. Here was a VPA flag. No supply, a sign of strength. Why is it no supply? Because there's no volume here. So that means buyers are holding it up. Here's a low volume test. And then look what happens. Put my crosshair on this day right here. There is an effort to rise, which means that volume is increasing over prior volume and it closes near the high. Ideally, this is the time to get into it right here with this low volume test with the close near the high, but this is a confirmation of that. And it just took off. Now today earnings came out. Earnings were, from what I saw, pretty spectacular, but a lot of that's evidently been built in. I did not read the earnings news, so I don't know what happened, to tell you the truth. But it opened here, traded all the way back up here. By the end of the day, though, they sold it off, and it actually generated a negative pocket pivot. But it's just hanging around here. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this one on Monday. I'm sorry, I want to bring that back up. I want to look at one more thing on Nvda. I want to go down to chart number 4. Volume was 104% of normal. The intraday range is only 43.14%, and it was down 2.15. I guess the encouraging part, it's a spinning top, even though it did sell off a lot down here. It still is not a big black candle. So we'll see what happens with it if the market is strong on Monday. Now, the group itself was weak today. You also need to take that into consideration. Okay? I'm just going to add it. Alternate G. If I find anything, yeah, I know they beat earnings, Steve. They beat them by a great deal. All right. Watson wants me to look at SPLK. I never get as far as I want to in these webinars. I guess I'll have to do more of them. Well, this is a good looking chart. Okay, Pete says to watch for a handle next week on Nvda, 9-week base. Yeah, it's. I certainly wouldn't give up on it. Okay, so what'd you say here, Watson? But got out when it passed the $112 area. Why'd you get out? I don't see low volume. You compare the volume to the volume around here. Remember what I said earlier? Stocks can go up on low volume if nobody's selling. Just because the volume's low doesn't mean you get out of a stock, okay? Now, who'd I learn that from? A guy named Jesse Livermore. I didn't know him personally, but I've read all his books, and he makes a point of that. This is a good example. I mean, if there's low volume right here and it's going up and it's closing near the high, that just means people aren't selling. Volume price analysis takes in, there are subtleties. I mean, these VPA flags work very well. This was a beautiful setup here. After this, a low volume test, and this was really a confirmation of it, a no supply, and it was moving up. Now let's go look at, I don't want to do that, I want to do this. Well, see, this is what I wanted to look at. Look at all these pocket pivots. So even though the volume was low, it means that either the 5 or 10-day pocket pivots, the volume was higher than volume on the preceding 5 or 10 days. So look at this, and this volume point of control. Also, it's in the bull's hands. What do we have here? We have another VPA flag, and this one is no supply. Why? Because look at the volume today. Volume dropped way down. That means there aren't a lot of sellers in here. Yes, the group did come down. It corrected a little bit, but I certainly wouldn't give on. Let's look at the weekly. I haven't looked at weekly charts today just because I've been emphasizing some other things. But look at the weekly chart. This stock is out to a new high. And the earnings slope, it's a turnaround stock. By that I mean earnings are bad and then it turned around. And then they went back up. So I wouldn't give up on this stock. If you get another chance, don't do this just because I said to do it. But if you get another chance, a pullback on light volume, that's where you look for the low volume. You may want to consider re-entering this stock, because this is a stock that after today is going to come up through that perfect speculator view, which I've got down in my basic end of day scans, because it's out to a new high. Okay? Yeah, it's good stock. See, you're picking some good stocks. I'm going to put this in my group. By the way, these VPA flags work on weekly charts too. We can only screen on daily, but they work on the weeklies also. So you can see down here in the corner I'm on the weekly chart. I'm going to go back to daily by hitting my alternate D key. Okay, let's do, I want to finish up with something else, and I'll try to go back and redo that. I'll probably have to do it in the morning. I don't think I'll have time today. That part where the video or the audio and video was off on the Bible gap up. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to go into the designer. And if you're considering using HGSI, you don't want to go through a bunch of prospecting like I'm doing. And by the way, you should if you want to get a feel for stocks. But you can start right here with this HGSI Top 50. These are generated every day. And they're generated off of the smart groups down here. Not all the smart groups, but some of them. Now this is the most recent day today or yesterday's data. If I click through, and let me do the scorecard intraday and sort on the industry groups. These were the stocks that appeared yesterday. Now what you have here using this designer, if you click on a group and you go to tools and you select the HGSI groups report, it shows you the stock groups that appeared, where the stocks appeared. An ABMD appeared in 12 groups yesterday, and this is medical devices. And we were looking at medical devices. Was I looking at medical devices? I can't remember. But anyway, this group was pretty much dominated yesterday by exploration and production and so on. But these are the groups that they appeared in. As we go down the list, you can see the numbers get smaller. But this stock right here appeared in Best of Woodward and Brown. And this is a group that only has 10 stocks. By Best of Woodward and Brown, it means that these top 10 stocks appeared the most often in these smart groups. So let's just go out of the way. Now this is for yesterday, but if you look at a different, if you go back in time, well, let's go back to the 1st of May, and then you go to tools and you select the group report. It's going to be for that date. Notice over here where my mouse is, it says 5/1. So look what I just happened to pick 5/1 again, and look what the top stock was, ABMD. So let's go look at ABMD. I'll just sort on symbol. And let's see. 5/1 is the one I did not know ABMD was in 5/1. But there it was right there. So it was appearing in that smart group. the top 50 before it ever started to make a move. Now on this day, it sold off a little bit. If you look closely, though, there's a wick under there. The smart money came in and bought it on that day. There was no profit taking. And then there was an effort to rise on this day, a warning that it could be overbought here because of this wick. So it opened here, traded down. That was overcome. And then here's a low volume test, a confirmation of that test, an effort to rise, and it had another good day today. Expensive stock that had been building a cause for a long time. It just means it was under accumulation here. When the group started going up here, here's a shakeout. But notice that while it was building this cause, it was in the fan. The fan was in place. So it was a very strong stock. An effort to rise, it has to have heavier volume than prior volume and has to close near the upper part of its range peers. Does that make sense? So here, closing the upper part of its range, volume remains steady. I don't know the exact formula off the top of my head, but generally that's what it does. So anyway, this was coming up back here. My point is that if you don't want to spend a lot of time prospecting, if you just look for these stocks that are appearing in the top 50, you're going to find some really good candidates. Now today, let me sort on the industries again. This has been dominated, this run in the market has been dominated by exploration and production stocks. And you can see that they're mostly down today as I come over here. They go from here to here, and only one of them or two of them were up today. Oh no, three of them, I'm sorry. So a few of them were up today, but not like in the past. Now what I want to do is I want to go back in time. And I'm going to, I looked through this morning, and I wanted to point out that, let me look at my notes over here. I want to get the date. March 21st, there were a lot of them, so I'm going to go back. This is March, and this is 21st, and I'm going to click through to my view and notice that on that date, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 stocks. And Continental Resources, Conocophillips, Contra Resources, and so on. What I want to do is I want to point out, I'm just going to pick Conocophillips. And what's the date here? 3/21. And let's go back to 3/21 on this. Now I cheated because I looked at this earlier today. But I just wanted to prove to myself that because so many of these stocks were coming up on 3/21, that some of the leading big name stocks had to appear here, and here's 3/21. So Conocophillips had a pocket pivot, it had an effort to rise. Notice appears that the volume here on this effort to rise was a pocket pivot, was higher than the prior 2 days volume, and it closed near the high, and then it hesitated the next day, and then it just kept going up. Now this is just one example. I could find a lot of exploration and production examples that occurred, but let's do this instead. Do this in addition to. If I click on the designer up here and type in COP and make this folder blue here, what it does is it goes over to the database. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. It shows you that Conocophillips is contained in every one of these ETFs. Every one of those. It's in all of these indexes. It's in these industries. It's in the S&P 100, 1500, and 500. It appeared in the top 50. This is 2017. In 2018, all of these times. And that date, 321, that I selected, it actually appeared 316. And you can see that it has appeared in these top 50, or the top 50 group on all of these dates. And today it appeared, or yesterday it appeared in all of these smart groups. And as I go down to the smart groups that I keep for the Insider Club and for myself, it appears in all of these groups. Stocks and groups moving to the upside, which is one of my favorite smart groups. It also appeared in Best of Woodward and Brown. Guess where it appeared in Woodward and Brown? On 323. And several times in April and in May, and look at all these VPA flags. So this is just one example, but the group started turning here and these stocks kept going. Let's look at one more. I haven't looked at Continental Resources. Let's look at it. Here's what I mean by a nice trending stock. Beautiful. Okay, let's go to March 21st. Now these even started earlier, back on March 5th. Here is March 20th, had an effort to rise, and March 21st right here, and it's done nothing but move up. So this top 50 group, if you want to experiment with, or not experiment, if you want to look for groups that are on the move, you're going to find the groups on the move over here. And if you pay attention to this every day, you're going to find the groups when they're rotating in. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click over here on this, and I'm going to use, okay, so just right here where my mouse is. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to use my down arrow key and see if this works. Now, this moved down to the 22nd. Look over to the right-hand side of the screen. I'm not going to move my mouse. See how many expiration and production stocks there were. I'm going to keep moving down. See how the group is increasing? I'm on the 23rd of March now. I'm on the 24th. There's still several. And look at the other groups that are appearing. What you're going to find using this group method, or the top 50 group, is that you're going to find the stocks that are on the move. And if you look at this every day, this and the stocks and groups moving up, you're going to find stocks that are beginning to move. So I'm going to keep going down here. Now look, on this day, there's only 2 exploration and production stocks, but there are several integrated oils. There's several renewable energy that are appearing. Now these are today's prices over here. Don't pay any attention to the prices. Just look at the groups. Okay, what happened the next day? Exploration and production came back in. Look how many there are on this day. This is 329. Now I'm going into, I have to get into April. I'm going to flip through these quickly. There were no exploration stocks that day, but look at the 3rd. They came back in. None this day. Let's see. Several this day, which is the 5th. None this day. None this day. But here, look at this group. Look at the size of this exploration and production group. So once these stocks started moving, there were multiple opportunities. Look at this. Look how large it is here. Out of the top 50 stocks, this was a dominant group. Now, it fell back a little bit here. But look at this day. So I'm just flipping through these very quickly. Let's go into the last month. Exploration and production. I'll leave this mouse over here. Look at this. Look at all these exploration and production. Now there's a few here. A lot of e-commerce. Lots of exploration and production. So, and this was through yesterday. So, when these groups start moving, they're going to appear a couple of places. They're going to appear in these groups. They're going to appear in these groups over here, and they're going to appear in the stocks and groups moving to the upside and downside. And these are the groups that I keep. Yeah, that's true. I just didn't want to bring up the pie chart. I mean, I should have. I wish you'd have said something earlier, Pete. But you get the point, right? When these stocks start moving, they're going to appear in the stocks and groups moving up, and they're going to appear in the top 50 stocks. So if you don't want to do a ton of prospecting, concentrate on these stocks. Now this is the most recent 510. These were the stocks that were are in the group from yesterday. You can see the semis were kind of weak today. Wealth management was up again. I was in E-Trade this week. I sold some puts, got most of the premium out. I took it off. This is another beautifully trending stock. You can see Nvda was in here. Weight Watchers was in here. Pocket Pivot running into some resistance here. Same ran into resistance over here too. Buyers tried to break it out of here, but sellers took it off at the last minute. Let's see. I'm going to sort on intraday range. McDermott International, Oil and Gas Services. This one closed. Well, I don't know what happened here. This is some sort of stock split or something. I'll have to look that up. Adobe, another beautifully trending stock that's been basing for a long time now. Excuse me, it looks like it wants to go up. So you see what I look for. And with the help of these screens, and I really didn't get into my screens today, I'm sorry. Let's do one more thing here to finish this out. I don't want that. I want my basics, my quick starts. I'm going to sort on raw combo. So these are the strongest stocks in the most recent group over here. These are the ones that are $15 and up. So out of the 50, I lose 13 of them. Out of these stocks, these are the leaders in the group that were up on volume. And you can run these during the day. You can see where the strength was just by screening on this top 50 group with these few views. These are the trending stocks. What do I mean by the trending stocks? The ones that are in a strong uptrend over here. This uses the trend combo. Now when I use this view, I always do a secondary sort. Intraday, I come in here, I click on search, I type in range, I select intraday range, I sort on that. This gives me the trending stocks that are trading. Wow, there's that McDermott. Something's wrong with that data. Let's look at Adobe. I just looked at that. Let's look at Medifast. 97.747% of its daily range, up 4.51, trending, A accumulation. Strong trending stock. Another one. Here's your buyable gap up. Did not come down to challenge that. Notice that the pocket pivot and the VPOC both turned positive the same day. Here's a test. Here's a confirmation of that test. When you see these two together, that's usually a good sign. And what has happened? Medifast is continuing to go up, has an effort to rise. I'm going to add it to my group, okay? Okay, let me get back to these. Of course, I'm going a little bit longer. I may not go back and redo that buyable gap up since I just showed you another one. Okay, these were the stocks that had a MDR as a buyout. Oh, MDR. Okay, thank you, Mike. I wondered what happened. Effort to rise. These stocks had an effort to rise yesterday that are in the top 50. And how many of them went up? Well, it looks like 6 out of 8 went up. This was a test for supply. Only one of them yesterday, and it was up 2.9% today. Look at this. This is a very strong candle here. It gapped down yesterday, traded all the way down, and closed in the upper part of its range, not quite at its high, but the volume was good. Very strong candle, though. And the group is good. Application software. Okay, bullish candles that were in stocks and groups moving up yesterday and were also in the top 50. These stocks were in that group. You can see, I don't know, if half of them were up maybe. Here's the pie chart. Let me see if I didn't want that. Okay, this is a pie chart, intraday, one-day change. 53% were up, 46% were down of the stocks that in the stocks and groups moving up. But that's just because of semiconductors and the exploration and production stocks didn't perform as well. But you can see that the application software did. And these are the 1 to 15 group. And then this is where I'll end today. This is a view that was added because I use it all the time. It's kind of a long name, VPOC, 1010 positive, down from the swing high. And what I'm looking for are lower risk trades that were down from the prior day or the last 2 days. It can be one or the other high. Look at this candle. Anyway, it signifies that this pulled back yesterday, and really it would have to either take out this high or this high to get into the trade. So I'm looking for lower risk entries. Now this one right here, this would be an early buy. Actually, this would be the buy right here. I'm looking at this wrong. And it went through this high. 2 cents above that, a buy stop would put you in the trade. Now this is a flag forming. Here's your flag pull. Here's a flag. And let me bring up another chart and show you how this works for some of you who may not be HGSI users or don't follow my methods. I'm just going to go down here to my basic end of day charts, go to view number 3, and whenever this occurred in the past, green lines were drawn, and the highs had to be taken out, the prior day's high or even the high before that, depending upon your risks. So you can see that there were many opportunities to enter into this stock. And that is what this screen does. It looks for slight pullbacks. Here's Conocophillips. Look at all the times that this would have been a good trade. Pulled back here. If you were filled here, you may have been stopped out on that. This was an excellent trade right here, though. It doesn't work all the time, but it works a lot. So this is another screen that I added. Paul and I talked about that. He's always given me advice, and he thought it would be nice to be in there, and it should have been in there in the first place. So I'm looking for low volume entries, and I keep saying I'm ending this, and I am, but that's when I determine my risk. Let me see if I have my spreadsheet up. I didn't want that. I'll bring it up here in a minute. For those who have taken the webinars, this is just a risk spreadsheet, and this was a sample I put in today. I'll take a look at this, and then I finally will end this. But I put in the high, the low, and it calculates a low -4. It tells me how much money I'm going to risk. $500 on $50,000, and I'm only risking 2.39% on this trade. If I use an ATR stop, a 10-day ATR, I would be risking 3.84%. This is a subject for another webinar, but I always determine my risk before I put a trade on. So let's get this out of the way. Let me bring up, CRY did not get filled today, but I want to use it as an example. Okay, you can see the green line here. This is from this right here. I like this because it was a low volume test. It was down from the swing high. If it took out this high, I was going to buy it. And it didn't get anywhere close. But this is how I determined this spreadsheet. I took the high from yesterday. I took the low from yesterday. No, I took this high. I'm sorry. Did I take that high? No, I did this wrong. Let's do it correctly. This is the high I wanted. Change everything. I just threw this together in a hurry and then I lost it. 2608. But you'll see how this works. 26.08. Whoops, not that much. So that changes everything, as you can see. I can only, rather than 800 shares, I can only buy 420 shares. Tells me how much I can buy. And of course, I screwed that up because I got in that sell. So I screwed my risk up. Let's do this. Sorry about that. I'm tired and I'm making mistakes. But I want to show you how this works. Okay, so what did I say the high was? 2608. So my risk is 4.56% rather than 2 something. And I could buy 400. I'd round it down to 400 shares, and I'm going to risk $476 on this trade. But if I use the stop based upon the low, my stop would be 24.91, which would be below the low of this day right here. And my thinking is, if this stock goes up here and takes out that high, it's well on its way, and it's going to be a long way from that stop. And my assumption is that the stock will just keep going. Okay? That's how I use the IR. Here it never did get filled going down. Okay? Because it never took out the highs. Here it never got filled. And here it may never get filled also. Okay, any questions? I went long as usual. I hope you don't mind spending your Friday afternoons with me. Okay, let's end it. The video, I'm not going to go back and thank you, Marilyn. I'm not going to go back and do that buyable gap. I'll just, I talked about that before, and I'll fill it in next time we get together. I don't know if I'll do one next week or not. We'll see. Okay, thanks a lot. You're welcome. Thank you for listening, sticking around on a Friday afternoon. Everybody have a good weekend. And be careful.